Hi everybody, this is Laura. I'm doing a tutorial on how I stack my tiered cakes. I've had a few friends and subscribers here on YouTube ask me to do a tutorial on how I do this and what I use. So I happen to be working on a Mickey Mouse cake that I have due in a few hours. So I'm just going to actually show you guys how I stack my cakes and kind of talk you through it as I'm actually doing it. Let me show you the materials that I have here, what I use. So of course I have my cakes. Okay, I have two tiers here. This is a 10-inch, that's an 8-inch, and then I have a little 6-inch that was carved into a Mickey Mouse hat shape, and I've got the ears sitting off on the side. I really like the way this works, the way that I stack my cakes, and if you guys want to give it a shot, it might, you might find it appealing. So what I use, a lot of you have asked me about these fat boba straws that I use, and these are them, okay? And this one's already opened, but this is the way that I purchased them. They come in packages of about 50, and these are called fat boba straws. They would, I would say the diameter of these straws are about I don't know, about 2-3 centimeters. Well, no, not that big. I would say about a centimeter, maybe a centimeter and a half. And these are about 8 inches long. They have different lengths, but I like these because most of my tiers are usually about 6 or 7 inches tall. I make my tiers pretty tall. And I buy these on eBay. There are, I mean, literally hundreds of people that sell these. Usually you'll get them overseas from China, which is why they're so inexpensive. So if you guys want to purchase these fat boba straws, just go on eBay and all you have to search for are fat boba straws. And I love these because they are very sturdy, they are strong, and they are super easy to cut, easy to use, so much easier than cutting wooden dowels or those thick plastic or cardboard dowels, which I think are really a pain in the butt, and I know because I've tried them. So I started using these fat boba straws because I started watching Duff use them on Ace of Cakes. So I hunted them down and I found them, okay? So what you're also going to need besides your fat boba straws is a reliable pair of scissors to cut the straws. You're going to need some type of icing. I like to use really thick icing. This is the one that has the high fat ratio shortening in it. It's my crusting icing, and I actually got the recipe from Tone Edna here on YouTube. To stack your cakes, you're going to need one of these. I don't know exactly what these are called, but I'm just going to call it like a really big spatula, like to lift cakes. You will also need a long wooden dowel. I purchased my dowels at Hobby Lobby. This one was only about 69 cents. I would say it's about 3 feet tall, 3 feet long. And I think I only paid about 60 cents for this. When you pick your dowels, guys, try and, grab a bunch of them and get the straightest ones that you can find. You're also going to need some cutters to cut the wooden dowel. You're going to need a nail file. Okay, make sure you only use this to use on your dowels. And then you're going to need a pencil. And what I'm going to do now is set the camera off to the side so you guys can watch as I am stacking my cakes. Okay, so my bottom tier, which is on my base here, is a 10-inch, and for 10-inch cakes, I usually put 8-inch tiers on top of my 10-inch tier. So for a 10-inch tier, I like to use 12 fat boba straws as my dowels, and I insert them into the cake. Let me just show you guys the straw, okay? It has lines on them, and you'll notice that usually the lines are a little bit slanted off to the side. So I just want to warn you guys not to use these stripes on the straws as your guide as to whether or not you're inserting the straw straight, okay? Because I've done it and I try to make sure that the line is straight, and then it turns out that the straw is crooked. So don't go by the line, okay? Go by the sides of your straw. And then you'll also notice at the top of the boba straw is at an angle, okay? So you want to make sure that when you insert the straw into the tier, you're using the flat edge, the straight edge into the tier, okay? If you want to be safe and make sure that you are placing the straws in the right place, and just get yourself an 8-inch board, cake board, just to more or less give you a visual so you'll know where not to put the straw. So we want to make sure that all the straws we're inserting are going to be in this area, okay? But when you get to doing this a lot, you're not even going to need to do this anymore. So the first straw I place is on the far end here. Push all the way down. Make sure that your straw is completely touching the bottom of the cake board, okay? Make sure it's straight. Again, make sure you put the flat end first. The second one I put in the opposite end. So really what you're doing is you're making a star shape. And these are pretty strong. I'm actually squeezing these pretty tight. They don't lose their shape, and you need to really push down and make sure it's touching the bottom of the board. The next one on the right side, and then this one on the left. Okay. The next one I'm gonna put in between these two, but more on the inside. You're not making a perfect circle, okay? I'm putting it right there, kind of near the middle, closer to the center, and in between these two. And then I'm gonna do the same with the others. I have found that this is the best placement for me, for my straws, to support the weight of the tier, and it will not squash your bottom tier. Okay, so far I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last 4 are going to be placed on the outside. Okay, so this one here I'll be placing again in between these two, but a little bit more out. I hope that makes sense. And what I'll do right now when I'm done sticking all of these in is I'll lift the camera so you guys can get a really good look at where I have these. The next one goes here, and again making sure, guys, that you are not going outside of an 8-inch diameter. Okay, making sure they're all the way down. So this is how they are placed, okay? Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your scissors, and when you cut your straws, guys, be extremely careful that you're not damaging the outside of your cake. So I start on the outside and then work my way in, okay? And make sure that your scissors are level. Don't do this or this or this, because then you're gonna end up with something like this, and that's what we're trying to avoid, okay? So what I do is I put the scissors flat on the cake, I squeeze the straw, I lift about 2 or 3 millimeters, and then I lower my scissors just a tiny bit and cut and press down, okay? So the top of the straw should be almost perfectly level with the fondant on your cake. Squeeze, lift, lower it a couple of millimeters, cut. Push down with your finger, okay? And once you get some practice, you'll see it's not that hard, okay? And if your scissors mess up the fondant on the middle, who cares? No one's gonna see it. I hope you guys are getting a good view of this. Okay? Carefully turn your cake. Okay, so now your straws are cut and they're totally level with the fondant, okay? Then what I do is I take my icing, and you want to squeeze a good thick amount on top of each hole that you made with your dough. A lot of people like to use royal icing, and then I've seen people on TV use chocolate ganache, and what I do is I just stick with the same icing that I used in the cake, because to me that's kind of weird if you didn't use any ganache on the cake at all and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of ganache in between the tiers. You're gonna like mess up the flavor. So I like to stick with flavors that I've already used, okay? So I'm going to now stack my other tier right on top, right in the middle. Okay, so I've got my other tier now on top of my spatula here. And just place your cake on top. Okay, so I walked all around my cake, and I've noticed, it's right in the middle. It's nice and straight. You want to walk around and check it from every angle, make sure it's right smack in the middle. So for a 6-inch tier, I'm going to grab some more of my boba straws. I only use 8 boba straws to put a 6-inch tier on top of an 8-inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Again, if you're not sure about the 6 inches here, get yourself a cake board, 6-inch, and just put it on top so that you can eyeball it. Okay. But since I've done it quite a bit of times, I'm going to skip that part for now. So you're putting your straws in the same exact place. One on the far end. Okay. Second one here. Again, making sure, guys, that you're inserting your straws completely straight. One on your right. One on your left. Okay, when I've got 4, what I like to do is I actually grab them and I push down to make sure that my tier is adhered really, really well to the 10-inch down below. Okay. And then you're going to take your 5th straw and you're going to put it in between 2, but closer to the center, just a tad. Same thing with the other one. It's exactly what we did with the first 8 in the bottom tier. If you've never used these straws, I promise you, you're going to love them. Okay? Push all the way down. We're going to do the same thing. Take your scissors and, well, let me show you before I cut. Okay? First these 2, then these 2, then this one, that one, that one, that one. Okay? I hope this makes sense, guys. Okay, so then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut the straws exactly like you did on the first tier. Lift a couple of millimeters, cut, push down. Okay. Lift a little bit, push down. Okay, why am I lifting it a little bit? Because when you put the other tier on top, it's going to push down on the fondant. It's going to push down on your icing. So you want to make sure that you cut these just maybe a millimeter or 2 shorter to make sure that your cake board on the cake on top is going to be flush with the straw. Okay, get your icing bag, and again you're going to pipe a good amount to cover on top of each hole that you made with your fat boba straw. So now I'm going to put my 6-inch tier on top of this cake. Okay, make sure it's Nice and centered. I'm gonna push down a little bit. I'm gonna walk around my cake and make sure everything's in the middle. Okay, so once your cake is perfectly stacked and you know everything is centered and everything is, you know, nice and tight and pushed together, then you're gonna take your straw, okay, and then you're gonna take a sharpener and sharpen one end. So as you guys see, I have it pretty sharp, okay, pretty sharp. Then what I do is I'm going to insert this entire dowel into the top of my cake. Okay, so make sure you find the perfect center. Now this is for cakes that are about 3 tiers. If you want to do it for a 2-tiered cake so you have that peace of mind knowing that your tiers aren't going to fall off, that's fine, okay? But I use this for 2-tiered and 3-tiered cakes. So right in the center, okay? And you want to make sure, guys, that it's right in the center, and that's why we placed our straws in perfect places around the center. So you don't want this dowel to be hitting your straws as you're going down, okay? So straight down, and I am like almost 100% certain that I am right smack in the middle, okay? I just went through my top cake board. I just went through the bottom one. And now I just went through the very bottom cake board and I'm going into the foam core. There, I just hit the very bottom of the foam core, okay? And you want to make sure that the dowel is completely straight, okay? I see people on TV, you know, using hammers and hammering dowels, and totally unnecessary, guys. You don't need a hammer or anything. Just push it down with your hands, okay? All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil and just mark the very, just mark right where the fondant is, okay? Make your mark. Then you're going to carefully lift your dowel as you're turning. Turn and lift. Slowly. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Okay. So when you lift it, you're going to notice you get a little bit of icing and stuff on your dowel. So what I do is I just take my paper towel, okay, find your mark, make sure you don't accidentally wipe off your mark, and just clean your dowel, okay. Then you're going to take your cutters. You're going to take your cutters and you're not going to cut where the line is that you drew, okay? You're going to cut about 1 millimeter or 2 underneath it. Twist and squeeze. Once you've squeezed all the way around, then all you do is just crack it apart. It's that easy. Okay, remember the nail file we were going to use? Okay, this is when you use the nail file. Okay, so you take your nail file and you are just where you cut, because there's sharp edges and you don't want people going near that when they're slicing the cake, and you don't want any little flakes of wood coming off. So you take your nail file and you just file it down to where it's completely numb. Nobody's going to poke themselves. You're not going to have any little chunks of wood falling off or anything like that. And you know it's good and ready when you can touch it and it's really smooth. Okay, there it is, nice and smooth. Okay, so we have our dowel that we cut and we sanded down the top part, and it's the exact height of our cake. So all you're going to do is just insert it. Again, make sure it's nice and straight, and you're going to push it down, but make sure that you are turning it as you're pushing it back down, all the way down. Now make sure you don't, accidentally stick your thumb in your cake. So when I'm about right here, what I do, when it's sticking about that much, to make sure I don't ruin my cake, all I do is I take my eraser from my pencil and push it down. So you can see that the dowel is a couple of millimeters underneath the fondant. Okay, so now what do you do about this hole on top of your cake? Super easy, guys. Just take whatever color fondant you were using before. Okay, here I have a little tiny black ball of fondant. It's the same fondant I used to cover this cake. You just plug your hole. No big deal. Nobody's ever gonna notice it. Flatten it out. Nobody will ever know. They're just gonna be so fascinated with your cake, they're not even gonna notice a tiny little plug on the top of your cake. And I'll do a little better job of blending that once we're done here. Alright guys, so that's how I stack my cakes. And now I'm gonna decorate my cake, and I'll be making another video of that cake. So let me know if you have any questions, or if there's something that I need to do a little better job of explaining. But I hope this helps, and thanks to all my friends and subscribers that recommended I make this tutorial. Alright guys, talk to everybody very soon. Take care. Bye bye.